We're back. The best of food and wine with Anthony Gismondi and Kasey Wilson, live from the Wines of Canada stage at the 2017 Vancouver International Wine Festival. Now, here's Tony and Kasey.
Welcome back to the Best of Food and Wine. I'm Tony Gismondi.
I'm Kasey Wilson.
We're live on the floor of the Vancouver National Wine Festival. 39 years people have been coming here to drink wine. You know, the first one, Kasey, was just a component tasting in a room.
It was. I remember that in tiny little plastic cups.
I don't know if you ever heard of that, Darryl, when it started, and we were given a container with 6 plastic cups in it.
No.
One had water, one had acid, one had tannin, and one had fruit, and then the last plastic cup had a little bit of the finished wine in it. And we sat there tasting these raw components, and the Mondavi family was, just giving us, going for it, telling people why they should drink wine. And so from that evolved all of this, which is quite amazing. But, the Mondavis, of course, were right. They were trying to break down wine and get people to understand what they were drinking, and so that's how they started out.
Yeah, what humble beginnings. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was. Boy, it was tough drinking a cup full of acid.
And I want to get personal with you. And speaking of humble beginnings, I don't know if you had humble beginnings, but I do know that you were on a submarine in the Australian Navy.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
And that's how you became interested in wine.
Yeah, I joined the Navy quite early. I didn't grow up in a wine family, and so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I hadn't found my purpose in life, and so I think it was 17, I was just finishing high school, and I'm like, I have no idea. I have no money, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I joined the Navy and got to travel lots of parts around the world, and just got an interest in wine. You get a lot of time to read on submarines, so started reading. The first wine book that really caught me was the biography of Max Schubert, the famous Penfolds grainer, and I was like, wow, if he can do this, maybe I can do it. So went from there. It was
yes,
great.
And so there has been some real advantages to having been in the Navy that you can bring to the table. Wine.
He loves being underground.
Yeah.
The cellars are amazing. Yeah.
Tell us what those are, what the takeaway is.
Yeah, I think there's some really good takeaways. There's certainly long hours. That really helps. You get used to just having to do the work and put the time in and work on a little sleep and make good decisions on little sleep.
Yes.
You get to work with a huge range of people in the Navy, and you don't get to choose who you're on a ship with. And harvest can be like that as well. You've got all these different people, and you've got to bring everyone together for a common purpose. So there's way more similarities than I ever realised, and it took a while to appreciate that. And it's like, okay, we're all working towards a common goal, and we've all got to make it happen, and we've got to do a lot of hard work and a lot of hours to get there. So yeah, it's quite good looking back and realising that initial training and how much it helped me.
You worked at several wineries around the world. You're now working at Mission Hill. Do you feel the pressure of being at a winery like Mission Hill that's up there on the top of the hill trying to set a standard for the entire valley every day?
Yeah, definitely. It's I like pressure in any job because it keeps us hungry and keeps us, pushes us. So I think I put a fair bit of pressure on myself as well. But Mission, there's so much history in Mission Hill, and it can set a standard and it can really help the valley move forward. We're only going to do well if all of us do well together. There's no doubt about that. But we have a visionary owner, and we have the means and the winery and the vineyards to really push boundaries. So there's a lot of pressure in that sense. Making wine day to day, that's our job. But being able to continually push boundaries and break down new barriers, that's the challenge.
How big is the aspect of you and the owner? How does that, you're busy every day making wine, doing whatever, but you still have the owner.
Yeah.
And he has a vision, and you have a vision, and somehow, I don't know, the wine gets made.
Yeah, and it's a lot of communication. Anthony's his passion is wine, so it's not. From that perspective, it's not sitting down in a boardroom talking about what we need to do for the next 5 years. It's tasting wine together. It's talking about where the wine should go and how we can do great things. And so, yeah, it's a fairly dynamic approach. Rarely have I sat down for a business meeting with Anthony. It's usually much more dynamic than that.
Yeah. So you probably won't have to hide barrels the way Max did.
No barrels, which is great. Yeah.
Our guest is Darryl Brooker. Of course, he's the chief winemaker and viticulturist at Mission Hill and recently became the general manager as well. So you're running the whole show. That's another dimension, or
yeah, it is.
Or were you already doing that? Sort of thing?
Really. We are a winery, and so it's about it's making wine, and I think it just ties everything together, which is nice. It's the vineyards and the winemaking was always tied together, so that was a natural progression. But it's about how we want to present the wine and sell the wine in the market, which is really what the next connection is. And I think I would hope there's the right person to do that as a winemaker. Yeah.
Well, of course it is. I think I always see the winemaker, like I often think of the winemaker as the captain of the boat.
Right. Yeah.
But there's always a GM too, so it's kind of nice to have both, and you don't have to have that interaction, I guess.
Exactly, and it's a model that's successful around the world, so it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, we want to talk about this incredible red wine that you brought with you, which we know quite well as Compendium. Lovely name. Let's talk a bit about that. Now, this is the 2012.
Yeah, 2012. So, what I'd consider a good year, but a sleeper of a year. After 2010, 2011, which were very cool, very tough years, and I thought 2012 was amazing. Since 2012, we've had incredible years following, one after the other.
Yeah.
But this is a wine that I think will, if we look at the average heat and temperature units in the valley, this is spot on 15-year average, 2012, and it's a wine that I think will continue to evolve in a really, really interesting way. I love the way it's drinking now, but I every time I try it, I think I want to see this in 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. You guys are blenders.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is a blend as well.
It is. It's 42% Cabernet Sauvignon, 41% Merlot, and 17% Cabernet Franc, and hopefully that adds up to 100%. But that's and the Cabernet Franc is playing more and more of a part, but still relatively low in Compendium, and it really is Cabernet Sauvignon driven, and it always has been. That limits the production because Cabernet Sauvignon is to grow, but the Merlot adds some plushness and some richness to the wine, which I really like.
It's very easy to drink, and I think it would even go with vegetarian, like a roasted vegetarian tart, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kasey. It has a nice herbal component to it. And people are scared to say herbal. Herbal doesn't mean green. It can mean sage. It can be dried tobacco, and I like that in a wine. Yeah, savoury.
Really nice.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Savoury, but with some silky tannins. That probably the toughest thing, or the most advancement, is tannin management in the wine business in the last decade. Are you confident with your tannin management now, or what are some of the secrets to getting that texture?
Confident maybe isn't the right word. You're never confident because it's something you're thinking about. And when you pick a grape and you start fermentation, you've got to think how these tannins going to look in 3 years' time, or 5 or 8 years' time. But I think the trick in the new world, and I include myself in the new world, I think it was slower to catch on than let's say Bordeaux. It used to be the more we work these wines, the more we extract, the better the wine's going to be. We've since about 2007 at Mission Hill, and John and I spent a long time, the previous winemaker, talking about this, is whole berries. Whole berries are where we do everything we can to end up with whole berries in the fermenter, and then we can extract the way we want to extract, and slow, and we still make the decision how we want to work the wine and when we want to press it off, but we get good tannins, not the harsh tannins.
So, and the whole berries, like maybe just briefly, could you explain, because of the skin contact, or like what's the difference between whole berries and that old partial crush or whatever?
Yeah, the whole berries, they're slow to extract. So over temperature, they slowly break down.
Yeah.
You get really nice fruit, but you extract the tannins a lot slower. And because the berries will break down, they just take a few days. And when the heat starts and the fermentation starts, and so you get a slower release of tannins, and you can control it a lot more instead of all tannins there straight up, right up front.
And speaking of berries, you've got an amazing sorter there.
Yes, we invested in an optical sorting, optical sorter, so it allows us to very fast and very accurate sorting of berries. It's a unit that we purchased out of France, and it's a game changer.
So the berries go through conveyor belt.
Yes.
And there's a camera that.
That's right, yeah, and the camera takes constant pictures of all these berries, and this is instant. There's microseconds, and then there's air jets that kick out the bad berries, and only the perfect berries go through. And
you select you pick the size of the berry, the color, and everything. It goes in the machine, and then it scans them, and the ones that you've picked are the ones that are going to get through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take home for dinner.
Exactly. It depends. We make pies out of them. It's a game changer.
When I saw the earliest optical sorters, and there was these old guys in Bordeaux, and they were shoveling the berries that had been deselected and throwing them back in the bin because they said there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Winemaker's pulling out his hair. And, it's hard to get people to change.
Yeah, that's right.
But change is important in this business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So something new this year, maybe before we go, or something?
Yeah. What do we have new? We've got a few. I mean, it's certainly my focus for the last few years has been really evolving the styles, or taking the styles to the next level. So I think that's a lot of the new news. We do have the new Cabernet Franc coming out. We're looking at a new aromatic white blend moving forward, which and that's very different to what we've made before. And so I'm excited for that. So
now, I'm excited to try that Perpetua you talked about earlier with the multiple grape picks along the valley. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I think Perpetua is never meant to be a single vineyard wine. So taking advantage of our spread of vineyards up and down the valley and using acidity and richness and blending them all together, I'm pretty excited.
Darryl, always a pleasure to have you on the show, and thanks for spending so much time with us today. I know you're busy out there on the floor. A lot of people want to talk to you, but we've got a lot of listeners who love Mission Hill wines, and they love to get that personal update from you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Darryl Brooker, we're live on location today from the floor of the Vancouver National Wine Festival. Year 39, Kasey, that coincides with your birthday, right?
Yes,
You're
with
about
my age,
39
exactly.
Your age, yeah, exactly. We are 39 and holding, but we'll be right back after these messages.
We're live from the Wines of Canada stage at the 2017 Vancouver International Wine Festival. There's more of the show coming up in just 2 minutes.